I'm up here in my kid's room, so it's a mess, but whatever. Bad lighting, everything. But I wanted to do a summary for chapters 1 and 2 of Parzival by Wolfram von Eschenbach because I'm having a lot of trouble with this text. And this will be the third time that I've started rereading this. So I tried reading this in the spring, and I was like, what is happening? I put it down because it was too confusing. So came back to it, started again. I realized by the time I got to chapter 3 that I didn't know, or book 3, I didn't know what was going on. So I was like, I got to start again. So what I did this time is I went back and I started taking notes on the key plot points. So I figure if I'm having as much trouble reading this text, then maybe other people are going to have trouble reading it too. So I figured I'll write down some information and go through like a summary of the chapters, which is very helpful. I don't have anybody guiding me in this. I think probably when you read this type of stuff, it's usually in a classroom setting with like some, pretentious professor up front talking to you about medieval literature. Wolfram von Eschenbach was a knight, a Bavarian knight, in the 13th century. That type of thing. So, yeah, let's go. Let's start. Book 1. Book 1 does not involve Parzival at all. It talks about his father. His father's name is Gahmuret. Gahmuret is the son of Gandon, the king of Anjou, which is a kingdom somewhere located in France. It doesn't really tell us where it is. But Gandon dies, and it's important to note that Gandon is of the lineage of fairy blood. So if you look in the back of this particular, the Oxford World's Classics edition, there is a guide or a family tree, and you see this Mazadon, okay, up here, and this Turtleskoyi, which is Farmugan. So Morgan the Fae, Morgan the Fairy. So these kind of like it's like kind of the demigods of Greek mythology. How like Perseus was the half son of Zeus, and so on and so forth. All these heroes. So we have these half fairy bloodline. So there's two brothers of this Mazadon. There's Lazaliez and Brichas. And Lazaliez, this side is the Parzival's family tree, which is tied to this other character, Brichas, which is the Uther Pendragon line over here with Arthur. So they're all descended from this character, Mazadon, who married a fairy. That's important. Okay. So anyways, Gandon, Gahmuret's father dies, and the kingdom is left to Galois, Galoes. This is Gahmuret's brother. They also have a sister. Okay, her name is Fleur de Mers. Well, Galos is the oldest son, so he gets the kingdom. He's like, hey, dude, I'll give you the kingdom as a fiefdom. And Gahmuret's like, nah, bro, I'm going to take off because I need to go find it in the quest and make a name for myself. So he goes, boop, and he goes east. He ends up in this North African kingdom, Zazamank. And it's under siege by two armies. The Baruch, which is kind of like the, like a pope for the non-Christians. I'm just saying, a pope for the heathen pope. That's what it's kind of referred to in here, okay? The word heathen is used for non-Christians in this text. So he needs help. So he's all like, all right, I'll pledge my services to the Baruch. And the queen, her name is Bellicane, accepts his offer. So he delivers this kingdom from these invaders. And then Bellicane's all like, ooh, this man, I like him. Let's get married. And so he's all like, okay. So he marries this Moorish woman. And he's now the king of Zazamank, this North African kingdom. But he's all like, my blood stirs, man. I can't just sit around. I'm bored. I need to fight. So he takes off, woo, and he leaves. He goes back to the west, leaving behind a pregnant woman, and he's got a letter of instruction to her to say, hey man, you need to tell our kid about me, about his dad that just 86'd out of here. So leaves behind this letter, and this is on page 25. But the son is born. I'm going to talk to you about this kid that's born. So it says, when her time was due, the lady gave birth to a son who was of two colors. By him God devised a miracle. Both black and white was his appearance. The queen kissed him incessantly, very often on his white marks. The mother called her baby Feirefiz, Angevin. So Feirefiz. All right, and he became a wood waster. The joust of his hand shattered many a spear, riddling shields with holes. His hair and his entire skin, too, became in hue like that of a magpie. So he's got spots, even his hair. But Gahmuret's out. He's like, peace out, and he takes off to Spain. So he goes to Spain because that's where his cousin Cailet is the king of Spain. But Cailet's not there. Cailet's going off somewhere on the quest. So Gahmuret's like, all right, I'm going to go looking for him. This is in book 2. So he goes to the land of Toledo. He goes around Toledo, and he travels on until it says, quote, he spotted strangers' tents in the country of Wales. Now this is Wales. Geographically, this does not make any sense where he's at, but whatever. And there's all these there's tournaments going on, like jousting. People are turning for glory and honor and knightly deeds of chivalry. And so he's all like, oh yeah, I got to get in on this action. So he's clothed all in green. He wears green samite, which if you think of the Islamic flags are always green. It's kind of the color of Islam. So he's like the king of this Islamic, anachronistically Islamic kingdom. But this lady, the Queen of France, Amphlise, Ampflise, she wants him to be her champion. She's like, be my knight. So he's all like, okay, I'll do it. She gives him a coat of armor that's made out of adamant. It makes me think of Wolverine, adamantium claws. You know, like it's adamant. It's a special armor. And you can find this on page 34. Hey, if you want this copy, by the way, there's the IS. Is that it? The ISBN right there. I'm using the Oxford University Press edition. Okay, so this is on page 34. She gives him this armor. Gahmuret learns now from his cousin, Cailet, the king of Spain, that his brother Gallows is dead. He's died, which now means that Gahmuret is the king of Anjou. So he's now the king of two kingdoms. The kingdom of Anjou, somewhere in France, and the kingdom of Zanzibar in North Africa. So he wins. Oh, and he also learns that his mother Chouette has died of a broken heart. Page 40. Amphlise and Queen Herzeloid, this is the Queen of Wales, they're both competing for Gahmuret's affections. Queen Herzeloid wins, and she convinces him, you need to leave behind the Moorish woman. She's not a Christian, so you need to marry a Christian. It goes to arbitration. So they call in an arbiter because he's really not into it. He's like, look, I love this woman, you know. I don't want to really get married, but she's like, you have to. So it goes to court, and the arbiter says, yes, you must marry her. So he kind of hem and haws about it. He doesn't really want to do it, but he's all like, okay. It says in here, now remember about the fairy blood that he has. This comes up where it talks about his fairy blood. So he says, this is page 42. It says, many trees stood in blossom because of the sweet air of May. So it's May. Sorry, I'm singing Camelot. the lusty month of May. It says his fairy lineage compelled him to love or desire love. His lady love wished to grant it him there. He then looked at Herzeloid. His sweet mouth spoke with courtesy. Lady, if I am to live with you, then let me be free of surveillance. For if grief's power ever deserts me, I would gladly do knightly deeds. If you do not allow me to go tourneying, then I am still capable of that old trick, as when I ran away from my wife, whom I also won by chivalry. When she tied me down, keeping me from battle, I abandoned her people and her lands to her. So he's all like, look, baby, I gotta fight. If I don't fight, then I'm gonna get bored. Then I'm gonna run off and leave you like I left my first wife. So she's like, okay, you can do what you want. Just don't leave me without love. So he's like, okay, so they got a good deal going, but he's all like, you know what, this ain't working out. Peace out, baby. And he takes off and he leaves his second wife. So he goes back to the east, and she's pregnant. She's pregnant with Parzival. Okay, so this is Parzival's mom. So Parzival is of Welsh blood. All right. So he travels, he peaces out, and he goes back to the east to offer his services to the Baruch. All right, again, because the Baruch is under siege and needs help, and he's in the lands around Babylon, because it's talking in here about King Nebuchadnezzar and Ninus, the founder of Nineveh. And Baruch claimed that both of these cities were subject to him, so there's this big fight, and says wins and losses accrued on both sides, and plenty warriors were seen in battle there. Then Gahmuret took ship, crossed the sea, and found the Baruch under arms. He was welcomed with joy greatly through his journey, though his journey grieves me. This is Wolfram von Eschenbach saying it grieves him. So there you go. And what happens is that Gahmuret is killed through treachery. It says here, page 45. So he's done all this fighting and battling and the lust of battle, yay! And his coif he pulls off his coif. That's the metal thing, the chain mail that like covers your face, right? Your head and face. He pulls it down. Extreme heat compelling him to do so. Cursed heathen's guile stole the goodly warrior from us. A knight had poured he-goat's blood into a tall glass and broke it upon the adamant. So his impenetrable armor, right, has been despoiled through treachery because somebody pours goat blood on it, which defiles it, and it says it makes it softer than a sponge. Then it became softer than a sponge. And so this dude rides up and kills him. He gets killed by I think it's a lance, like a spear, in a joust. He's killed by a spear. 45 and 46. It's on here somewhere. And he's buried. He's buried. The chaplain comes and hears Gahmuret's confession in brief words, and sent here the shift and same spear which has parted him from us. He died free of all misdeed, commending his squires and pages to the queen. He was buried in Baldak. There's this big, lavish funeral, and everybody's sad. Upon his helmet and the adamant, an epitaph was engraved, sealed upon the cross above the grave. The letters read thus: through this helmet a joust slew this noble man, bearer of valor. Gahmuret he was named, mighty king over 3 lands. So the kingdom of Zanzimak in North Africa, the kingdom of Wales, those two because he married 2 queens, and then the kingdom of Anjou because he inherited it because his oldest brother was killed in a joust. All right, got that straight. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. And then the queen is Queen Herzeloid, Queen of Wales. The Queen of Wales is sad because she learns that Gahmuret's dead, and she gives birth to Parzival, and it makes some strange reference here. I'm not going to talk about it because it's weird. about the size of Parzival's member. Okay, when he's born. That's it. We're going to leave it there. There's some weird note from Wolfram von Eschenbach that closes out the chapter. There's a defense of himself. So remember, Wolfram von Eschenbach was a knight, a Bavarian knight. So there's a thing here at the bottom. He's got a note at the end of book 2. If anyone now speaks better of women, then truly I have no objection. I would be glad to hear their joy brooded wide. There is only one to whom I am unwilling to offer loyal servitude. My anger is always new against her, ever since I detected her in deviance. I am Wolfram von Eschenbach, and know a little of singing, and I am a pair of tongs holding my anger against one woman in particular. She has inflicted such wrong upon me that I have no choice but to hate her. That's why I bear the brunt of women's enmity. Alas, why do they act in this way? So he's talking about some woman that's supposedly done him wrong, and he's defending himself. So there you go. All right, that's it. Summary is done, and I'll talk about book 3 next time. God bless. Have a wonderful day.